too. And tonight, kind of returning the favor actually, because she had the unfortunate job to interview me. I know that was a very tough thing for Regan, so I thought I would actually turn the tide completely on her. She can come on my show and be interviewed here. So how you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you doing?
My very, very serious self. Today was kind of like a personal gut check, because I'm going back to the day job grind again for a few months. I think we'll see how long that lasts.
All right.
I,
Where's that?
Well, I'm just working at some factory somewhere or another. It's honestly not that big a deal.
Well, yeah.
No, I say that like I'm grateful for like the opportunity I can go get a job and get working and stuff like that. But I also just know that the reality of the situation for me is I've recognized the fact that for me I've kind of hit the limit of what I can do as far as like a day job goes.
Yeah.
So I tried freelancing last year, and ultimately, you know what? The biggest lesson I learned as a freelancer, and my dad, he drilled this into me when I was a kid. He was right. I hate it. He was right. Focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that like literally that's the thing. Like it's all about like if you're gonna do it, if you must do it, if you want to become a freelancer.
Yeah.
And the secret to this is you have to focus on your task. You got to make a decision of kind of what you want to do.
Yep.
And so today was like a personal gut check, because I'm nearly done my second book in draft form already this year.
Cool.
Yeah, and I get to announce my first release in literally 6 days.
Right.
It's because one of my books last year did something really cool I get to talk about. And on the 15th, I officially get to talk about it, which is going to be a really, really cool thing. And then I might even do it like a special like stream just to announce the book, maybe for like 20 minutes. I'm like just that day, just a very quick stream to say, hey, this is really cool. I get to make something really cool up. But like I was thinking, like, where do I want to be a year from now?
Mm-hmm.
And my answer is on the road. Like I don't like. Is it me, or has Canada gone insane with the prices of everything?
Has CanCon?
No, has Canada gone insane with the prices of everything?
Yeah, probably. I mean, like, are you talking everything? Everything really? Like houses? Yeah.
Houses, yes. Food, a little bit, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's various levels of craziness, right? So, but houses, yeah. And I don't know where gas is right now because I don't drive. So, I mean, I drive, but I don't have a car. Yeah, so if you probably look at it, things are a little out of whack. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of makes it like I had an honest question with myself, and this was kind of like, and is what are these things that we value so highly actually worth?
Yeah.
And
good question.
And especially like I'm a single guy. I kind of just come and go do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's very little in this life I want, which creates a very interesting problem for like a guy like me. It's like, what do you like? Actually gives me a sense of freedom that very few people have.
Yeah.
You have to have the house and this and that and that. It's like, no, you actually don't. You don't really need. If it doesn't serve a purpose, you shouldn't like have it, right? Yeah, it has to serve a purpose. If you have kids, then yeah, it serves a purpose. If you have like a need of a place. Again, there's nothing wrong with wanting a house either. Like if you want it, that's cool too.
That's awesome, but
right. But if you don't have kids, and if you're trying to get something because everybody else wants to get it, has it, it's not worth very much, is it?
No, I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I had so today I walked out in the middle of this wonderful weather we have right now,
mm-hmm.
and again I lived in Arizona, so I'm like I can wear pants out here and it still doesn't bother me. I'm
Good on ya, not me.
Right, but no, it's like it's that gut check, right? And that's it. And I just recognize like, what do I want to do for the next 8 months to get so I can get out of here? That's literally where I'm at. It's like. So it's like 1. I already know what 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then I'm going to be on the road, and then
Very
Maybe I'll
cool.
come to your house and go, hey, you want me to do an interview here? I'll bring out the
Yeah,
camera.
right.
And then your dog just, and then just pictures of your dog assaulting me on camera for like
Yeah,
an
yeah,
hour.
that'd be cool. That could be fun, especially considering her size, right? So
Well, yeah. See, there's that, and also we could take bet, like you could literally have a betting pool win between the dog and myself, and
yeah.
it's like exactly Marcus the Queensberry rules, right? That's the thing, right? You just do it's like the rules are in case of a knockdown, she might lick you. Just saying, right? Yeah, very much a cutie pie there, Doris. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Oh, your plans makes me. Wait, are we having connection issues or like? Am I coming through okay? Sorry, I got to notice.
It's fine. You glitched out for just a second and came right back.
Oh well, sorry.
People forgive.
Yes, good. Now, you made me think of one of my publishers, actually not Mirror World, Pandemonium Publishing. This is kind of what she's done. She's gone on the road. She sort of ditched the house, and she's got an RV and her dog and her cat, I think, and off she goes to do like her book promotion thing, like for her own books and for the other books that she's published. And yeah, it's kind of awesome. It's that kind of freedom, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I might want to settle somewhere, but I'm thinking if I'm going to settle, it'd be like Hawaii. If everywhere is expensive,
yeah.
No, hear me out here. If everywhere is expensive,
yes.
You might as well decide where you want to be. Mm-hmm. Because really, if I'm paying through the schnoz for the cost of living, I'm going to get what the hell I want. Yeah. Listen, I admit I'm a whore, but I have standards, right? I have my own standards.
We all should, yes.
We all should, right?
Yeah.
So long as a beach. I want a beach.
All right. Well, I would also recommend New Zealand, frankly. Like, I know that it's a precarious place as far as it's on the Ring of Fire, etc., but it's got some really awesome beaches and awesome people and awesome animals and awesome weather. I mean, like, climate change is affected everywhere, so, you're going to get crap pretty much everywhere. But, yeah, it's just a pretty awesome place, too. Just gonna slide.
No, you can totally put that out there. I mean, I totally get that. So I have a question then for you, and this is my question. So you sounds like you've done the big traveling stuff.
Well, not lots, but my biggest, my two big traveling trips have been to New Zealand, though. I went in 2003 with my husband, sort of like we did our honeymoon before we got married kind of thing, because that's when we could afford it. And we did pop by Hawaii really quickly. It was just a break on the way, so we just stayed a couple of days and tried to, jet lag. And then we were in Sydney, Australia for about 4 or 5 days. And then we were in New Zealand for a month. And yeah, 2 weeks on the North Island, 2 weeks on the South Island, and it was awesome. And that's actually... It inspired the middle grade novel series that I'm working on right now. But I went back in 2009 with my mom, and we visited just the North Island strictly so I could sort of research. That's the excuse, right?
Yeah, of course.
Book number 2, which takes place only in the North Island. And we stayed there for a month. And yeah, best trips, both of them, of my life so far. I do hope I can get back someday. And of course, I'd like to go to other places. Like, I have not done the Europe thing yet. I have not done, including the UK, and that's like all my background's there, and Scotland and stuff. And I'd really like to dig into some of that someday. I mean, not right just the second. COVID's kind of preventing all of that, but for me, anyway, too, I don't feel comfortable traveling outside the country. Yeah. I will, though, again. I mean, it's not, and I definitely I want to get out to those places. And I've been to a few places in the States and Canada. But, I can definitely, there's definitely lots of places that I have not hit yet that I'd love to. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I see, I'm like, for me, I made my peace with COVID at pretty much the beginning. So I don't it didn't hit me like it hit a lot of other people. There's literally the worst 2 things it could do to you, in theory, I've already kind of experienced in my life. So to me, it was kind of one of those, you can't really do. I've already been here, so hi, and whatever. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
That's me, right? So I mean, the fact is, like, I'm looking at like the fall, like it'll be very hard. It'll be very, very hard in the fall to stay here. I might stay here just for the fall, winter to get myself properly prepared because the thought of coming back right away is depressing, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
When I go though, I will be gone for a long time, and I know that too. I've hit that wonderful age of I'm going to get this all out of my system now because I may decide to settle down after it's all said and done. Then again, I might do what my uncle did. Like one of my uncles was a photographer, and he traveled the world, and then him and his wife, that's all they did. They just traveled the world together, took pictures, wrote stories about it. Like that sounds awesome, actually. And yeah, I'm like, if I could do that and just do what I've been quietly doing with people, with just like inspiring them to be whatever they want to be, I think that's a good life.
Yeah, absolutely. And may I just interject here? It sounds like you don't, now correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you don't imagine kids in your life. And I say this because I don't myself. I'm not having.
I'm 50-50 on that.
50-50. Okay, interesting.
No. I'm 50-50. Let me explain this. Mm-hmm. I'm old enough where I'm young enough where I can still have kids and not like be crippled, like in my 60s and 70s.
Yeah, and they're all
right. There's an age. But it's funny. Like I'm just at that age in my life where it's just like I'm open to anything, but I'm okay with everything too. I think it's a very important. Oh, I know. I do. No, Doris, absolutely. I'm 39. Like I'm 39 years old. I could literally, in theory, I could have kids all the way until I'm 60 if I really, really want to.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at this from just a point of view of, right? Yes, exactly. Super young for men. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, right? This is how I see it is. I realize something really like important about relationships in general, not just relationships, but friendships.
Yeah.
You want to be with people that want to be there with you, and you don't want to just settle for anybody. I came to like a realization for like when I was about 2 or 3 years ago, right? 2 or 3 years ago, and I realized something very profound about people. At the end of the day, people do exactly what they want to do, and all you really have to do to understand the kind of person you're with is just watch them do things for just a little bit. Their pattern will give people away about what they want.
Right.
And so I've seen this with relationships. A good relationship is an amazing thing, whatever that relationship is. A terrible relationship wrecks you. Like it completely destroys you.
Yeah.
So I'm old enough now where it's like, if it didn't come my way the way I wanted it to, I'm okay with it. I would like it to. There are definitely, and I'm not against kids either. I think I'd be a pretty good dad, all things considered. I think I'd be a pretty good one. But I'm also at that point in my life where it's just like, I don't have those things right this minute. I'm not necessarily looking for them right now, but if I'm with the right person, I'm not saying I wouldn't. Like that's just an honest thing. Like if I met somebody and I thought they were the most amazing person on the planet, and I thought, this is the kind of person I could raise it. I could raise a son or daughter and be very proud of the people like we would make together, right, or would raise together, I should say. It's like I would be very proud of that person. Yeah, I'm not against that. But I'm also at that point where it's like, if it doesn't happen, I'm not gonna cry about it either, right? It's just like, it's got to be the right person.
Yeah.
I think that, right, and that might sound like very picky, but honestly, yeah, it kind of is, right?
You should be at least a little picky. I mean, this is the person you're spending the rest of your life with, or hopefully are at least a chunk.
But even if let's say I do have a kid, right?
Yeah.
That's a permanent.
Exactly.
Like, that's a permanent thing.
Even if you're divorced.
Yeah. So I mean, even if it doesn't work out, hopefully I find somebody that we can get along. Yeah. Well, no. Well, you know what? I mean, there's a filtering process. Like, I truly believe you can date anybody. You can absolutely date anybody. And I'm not talking like the extreme legal, illegal, and no.
Oh, no.
General consenting adults, you can literally date anybody.
Yeah, any personality type, basically.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, any kind of person.
But when they're talking, when you break that barrier into serious relationship, that's a big commitment. Like that's a commitment, honestly, on two people, and it's got to be serious.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then you know what? I'm a big enough man, and I'll do this even with friendships too. If you want to go your way, I'm not going to stop you because I'm not. You're going to do what you want. If I nag at you, you're going to be like, come on, right now. I don't
not going to work.
No, just go live your life. I'm not gonna be mad at you that you've chosen to live a life.
Right.
What I want is I want someone that wants to be there, and and that's it.
Yeah.
But to the rest, like she's probably gonna be a little bit like me, like crazy adventurous, because
You need to have some things that are the same and some things that are completely different, so you balance each other out. I find there's a mix of both. At least that's been my experience with my own husband. Yeah,
there has to be enough similarity that you guys can you see where you guys. Yeah. But there is, but again, no one should look at things the exact same way. We don't live in that kind of world, and we shouldn't. But this is something that this is just my own dating history. It's just like I've looked at the fact I've had 3 relationships. None of them like terribly long. Well, but and in 2 cases, I still talk to my exes as friends. So I mean, I've done. I mean, at the very least, we get along.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of those things where I looked at what they all taught me, and the first 2 relationships were they weren't right. One of them I still like. I do love to first serious love kind of thing. I'm always going to have a little bit of my heart for that person, but when you get right down to it, right? When you get right down to it, it's like I also realized too at this point in my life I'm a very different person, and probably so is she. Mm-hmm. We haven't been that talking in a long time.
Yeah.
So I mean, now again, the good news is, I mean that little hopeless romantic part. It's like it's possible. Sometimes meet her down the road, different thing, good things could happen. Yep. Flip side though, we might just 2 very different people, and that's a great thing too. Mm-hmm. And the last person I was with, she was incredibly sweet. Honestly, I still care about her very much. But the thing about it is also I just realized too, she needs to go down. I feel like we're great friends and we'll always love each other, right? And we will always love each other. I'm not dating wise. I don't know if that'll ever. She has certain things she needs to do. I have certain things I need to do. And I just think right feelings, wrong time was kind of the situation there. Right. Wrong time. Maybe when I'm a little older / wiser, or maybe when I'm a little bit when I get certain things out of my system, maybe. Mm-hmm. But again, same thing. She's going to be a different person then too, right? And
you just have to see if you match up at the time, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it might not happen like that. Like that's the thing. Like we that's the thing. Like relationships are complicated because we always change.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is that it can be an incredibly wonderful thing. It can also be an incredibly terrible thing too, right? It really depends on your partner. So and it taught me a lot. Like I said, once I kind of recognized that, and also just how I want to be treated, and I've learned a lot of things about that too. You learn a lot of that stuff when you do date.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, well, the next person I seriously date or seriously, am involved with, hopefully I'm more mature about some things than I was in the last few relationships, right? And again, just me just acknowledging like my shit stinks too a little bit, and I got to be honest about that, right? Right. But at the same time, I mean, there are things I'm going to want and need. I'm going to need a certain sense of freedom, not right in my relationship. And I'm not sure like every woman. I think there's a lot more women that understand that today. Right, and it's going to be a woman because I'm straight. It's just the way it is. But yeah, but the thing of it is too. I am aware enough to know that just because I need that freedom, they might need something else too. I'm not necessarily I can date anybody, But from a relationship standpoint, I
That's
may
what you
not
do.
be everyone's relationship, and that's something I've accepted about myself, at least as is right now. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
certainly made me reminisce a little bit about my previous relationships. I've been married twice now. So when I married the first time around, I was very young. And yeah, so that ended exactly predictably. And I do still consider us friends, although he's sort of disappeared. But that's a whole other thing. It's not because
That's yeah. I mean,
yep, off. He went to maybe BC, I think, but that's okay. Um,
yeah.
but I learned so much, particularly about myself and what I needed, but also how I needed to interact with other people, and like in order just to be more mature, kinder, even, and all sorts, and not playing games and all sorts of things. Like, okay, next time around I am not going to do ABC. There's these things, a lot of things I do want to do, but actually maybe more things that I learned not to do, or that really that's not what I want in a relationship, if I want a good healthy one. And so I am incredibly grateful for that marriage, because it taught me so much. And yeah, and now, not to jinx anything, but things are going very well with Kevin. I mean, I've been with him for almost 18 years, so
that's testament. I mean, that's testament to both of you, actually.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's one of those. Again, we all get there. Like, there's two great loves in our life, really, and that is the person we seek to find love with, and our passions. Like, whatever our dreams are, those are our great loves in our life.
Absolutely.
And I think we tend to. I think, as a general rule of thumb, human beings sell themselves short on both of them, or at the very least, I feel like they don't understand what they're actually looking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just see that mine are my sons and the rest is extra. Yeah, I guess that's the passion. Like, for me, it would be animals and my creative pursuits. Like each one is my kid, kind of thing, or something. Yeah, like those are my substitute kids, kind of. Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, but love, the nature of love in general, it's the ultimate adventure, and everybody goes through it such a different way. And it's coming to terms of who you are and who you're not. Some people do end up by themselves, and that's totally fine. I think.
Yeah, some people don't think it is, but it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's totally a fine thing. I just think, and something I recognize, like I said, my family history. My family's terrible at relationships, right? So
I think we all have at least a branch of terrible in our family.
No, it's like I said, and what I recognize is in. Yeah, exactly, Doris. Like, we all have like things we love, and I think one of the biggest things in life is that we have a tendency to ignore those things. Or not understand those things in the context we need to. We have this idea of what love is, and then there's really what love is. And I think that's
all it is, and there's nothing else to. And you end up excluding a whole bunch of stuff that should be included in there.
Yeah, well, the gal I fell in love with, she's a very free person, and I wanted, like, she's just free spirit, total free spirit, right? And I had this idea what relationships should be like, and she completely destroyed that whole concept for me in the best way, because I recognize that the true nature of love, the honest true nature, is if you have the ability to let someone be themselves. Yeah. That is an amazing thing. Yes. That is truly love. Love is not control. It is the opposite of control. But I think when we start,
pretty much just let it go.
Yeah. That is such a hard thing for a lot of people to understand. Love isn't like you're gonna go this path and this path and this path. I mean, you do the best you can, and we all have an idea what certain
plans. But I mean, it's not.
But I mean, like you recognize, like your husband of 18 years. There are some things I'm sure he does that still drive you crazy.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And vice versa. I know vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you have the freedom with each other to do that to each other,
Mhm.
because that's the real like love isn't like, oh, I love you, oh, I love you too. No, no, no. I mean, there's a little there are moments, but boy, when it really gets right down to it is, can you be so comfortable in a person that you can be completely yourself and not worried about being judged by who you're with?
Yeah.
If you can do that,
Mhm.
you have a good relationship. Now, there's no guarantees. There
No,
never is. There never is.
no, I mean, it changes, right? So, and you both change over time. So, hopefully, the hope is that you change together and it continues, but sometimes it doesn't. But that doesn't mean that you didn't love each other and
No,
fully and totally in the time that it was, in sync. So, yeah, totally.
no, that's it. And that's it. Like, once that's what I learned in that relationship. So it was
Mhm.
just like, I learned that's like, okay, I think I could do it now. I think I could do a long relationship now that I'm
Right.
aware of this, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I'll succeed at it, because Lord knows that doesn't that might be one of the great challenges in life. I think honestly, having like they say that when you have a family it's over. No, that's actually when the adventure really begins, because do you really know what the fuck you're doing? Now you find out. Now you
Yeah.
actually find
Oh,
out,
yeah.
right? Because it's now its own roller coaster, and that I think is the actual, that's one of the real adventures of life. And the other one, which we both have in covered, is finding those passions. Our creative, for both of us, that's our creative pursuits, and maybe your dog, right? Yeah,
Look
right.
at my cat. My cat is sitting here just off camera,
Yeah.
and they're my fur babies,
So,
and but
so,
also all the animals
so,
I work with.
so how long did it take for them to train you?
Oh, not long.
Not long.
Not
No,
long at all.
no.
No, no. I think like my cat is a Siamese cat, and they in many ways are very similar to Chihuahua as far as manipulation goes, and they do that with love, but they manipulate their people, and I guess we all do. But
A little bit.
they're masters at it, and yeah, no, they have me wrapped around their paw.
That's okay. So so I had a cat, and he always wanted to eat at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I would know this because I hear him meow. I'm like, I'm not
Mhm.
getting up. He actually got it down to, he was actually nibbling on my toes, just gently enough to wake me up. It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
and then it's like one of those. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, okay, I'll feed you. Leave me the hell alone. But
yeah.
like, and then I realized that, like, this isn't during my teenage years. Of like, he trains me well. At 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm up just to make sure he's fed.
Yeah, I know when
But
my guys want their food, they make it very well known. I mean, my Siamese cat Jack is not subtle. We do have to close the bedroom door at night because otherwise he'd do terrible things with all the stuff in our bedroom, but and wake us up. But yeah, no. So he just yells at the door. So it's simple, it's about like anytime, but no later than 9:30. You get up, because I do get up a little later. I go to bed a little later.
you're a human. Wake
Human,
me.
human mommy, yeah, meow, meow, meow. And Siamese cats, of course, can meow quite loudly. And yeah, Raxel. Well, now she's off barking somewhere. But she usually doesn't have to bark too much. She usually just comes and stands and looks at me. I'm thinking of lunch and dinner time now during the day. Stands there, looks at me expectantly, and I know what she like. Yep. Okay, it's time for food, and like she knows the time. It's like she has a watch or something built in, and yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, you love them.
Absolutely. No, you do.
Yeah.
You totally do. Like, and like I said, it's funny. And like it, but like, so we all have things and people we love, and in your case, like your pets. I guess should be in your bio. Your pet. She is trained by her pets. Like your pet name,
Raxel and
your
Jack.
pet name, right,
Yeah.
right, and you can actually do it like a little like series just based on the fact how I train my human owner.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Yeah, right. You totally do that. Totally
They should
fun,
publish
right?
a book. Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
a short book because it would just be a list. But yeah.
Well, you know as well as I do, like when you have like creative ideas, you gotta make a decision. Like, so let's ask actually our first, like, what, we've gone 30 minutes and I haven't asked a question yet. So yeah, so let's ask a fun one here. because me and you are both writers. We write this stuff.
Yep.
The question I have for you is this.
Okay.
How do you determine the story you want to write?
How do I?
You always have so many ideas in your head. So,
Yes.
like, how do you choose?
The one that nags at me the most, that makes me the most excited, and won't leave me alone. Yeah, and sometimes that'll happen gradually, but sometimes it's like it hits me in the face. And it's like the character was there, just going, do it now, do go, and yeah. So they make it easy for me that way.
I know it's just you. It's like there's a lot of yelling, right, to get you to do stuff and you get from your pets, and then your characters are actually slapping you.
The characters,
but, yes.
Yeah, they're frenetic sometimes.
Are you in an abusive relationship with your fictional characters? Okay, you're in a safe place here. You're in a safe
Okay.
place.
Okay. Well, maybe one or two that are a little aggressive. Let's say. Yeah.
Okay. No safe words or anything like that. Okay, gotcha.
Most of them are nice, but yeah, there's a couple that are just like extra.
Extra. Okay. So let's ask this then. Let's go this direction.
Okay.
So what do you write about that makes you really passionate? Like what I mean by that is, okay, so right now I'm writing Alice in Wonderland, playing croquet with Jason in the labyrinth. That's what I'm writing right this minute.
Yes.
Right. It's fun because I get to first off I get to play with Greek mythology and Alice in Wonderland in some really fun ways. Right. I named the Cheshire Cat. The name for it is him or her is perfect.
Yes.
Right. So, but the thing is, right, what I'm really writing about, like what I really care about right now is I think about bravery right now. We've had a year and a bit of fear. Right, to the point that people are still anxious about some things. Some of us don't give a shit. Some of us are really anxious about going out in the world. And I realize that like this minute, this time, a lot of what we're doing is facing our fears. Mm-hmm. And that's a very important thing right now. So I care about this because I grew up reading about a comic book about dealing and overcoming fear. I'm a Green Lantern fan, and so it's like I get to write. So I cared about it to begin with. Mm-hmm. So right now it's incredibly relevant and it's something I care about. So what is yours?
Well, I'm going to start with a basic, which is animals. Which seems ridiculous because we've already talked about I love animals and stuff like that. But my stories have a tendency to be overwhelmingly anthropomorphic, even to the point of it's not an animal, it's a cactus plant that is a main character in one of my picture books. But whether you're talking about the picture books or the middle grade novel series, they are animal characters. Now, I have a book that I have coming out, not coming out, excuse me, that I've begun drafting that actually has humans in it. So human youngsters and, their parents and whatnot. But there's an overwhelming thing about animals, but it's about them showing us our own humanity and our own traits and our own flaws and our own fears and our own issues and how one might deal with them. So, whether it's kindness or making friends or feeling like you're not worthy or pretty enough or you are abandoned or you're lost or you're trying to save your Nandy grandfather from death and things like that. These stories are presented through animals, allow me a little extra room. I'm not as confined, I feel sometimes, by human restrictions, or I can place my own rules upon them that we could still do with human characters too, yes, but I don't.
I have a theory.
Oh yes, okay. But remind me to come back to the Maori thing. But yeah, okay.
So. Oh, hey, why don't you elaborate yours, and I'll explain kind of my theory.
Okay. Well, in Peter Littlewing, the middle grade novel series I'm working on right now, now, and the book's coming out in 2023, so I'm doing these final revisions and working really hard on it. And it takes place in New Zealand, and they, like Canada is grappling right now, and should always have been more so, with the indigenous people. The Maori in New Zealand, the European settlers basically there, are on a similar path of negotiating, living together, and peacefully, and making things right, reconciliation, etc., with respect to the Maori. And in this book, I want to include both. Through animal characters, I don't have to worry as much about, well, are they coming off, like, I have a Maori character, first of all, am I allowed as a white person basically to, write this character from a perspective, and I have no idea what it's like to be a Maori person. And maybe the other characters would be white or whatever, and that, even then, I'm a Canadian. I don't fully know what it's like to experience life as a Kiwi child. So, not that, I do agree and I believe that writers have license to to empathize and to put themselves in other people's shoes, but it's a contentious issue. It's not the reason that I write from an animal's perspective or within animals, but it certainly can help, because none of us knows what it's like to be a Kiwi bird or a Kia parrot or a little blue penguin. We can all imagine that stuff, and it could certainly be allowed, because it's not like I'm going to go ask them, and secure permission from them or whatever. But yeah, it just allows me to look at both sides of New Zealand and beyond, and create an animal universe without stepping on too many toes. But even so, I have a Maori consultant and a New Zealand with a European background consultant as well, working with me right just now to make sure that I am getting things right. As far as if a New Zealander were to read it, it would feel authentic enough anyway. And so and at the same time, not pretending, for example, that I am a Maori writer, trying to write like a Maori person would present a story, but being inclusive. Sorry, that was a big blah.
No, it's interesting. Like, we are struggling with this. I think we're due to go back the other way a little bit. And I'm going to say kind of where I'm coming from with this. Mm-hmm. I had a very interesting experience when I was living in Arizona. I was like, are you there? Okay, you're there. Cool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No. My screen just went
No.
I very interesting. I honestly, it was an interesting thought, and it's kind of made me rethink some things a little bit. Mm-hmm. I get where you're coming from. Again, you cannot ever put yourself in that shoes properly.
No, and I don't want to appropriate. Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's beyond. Like, you just have no context for it at all, right? But I remember, like, I lived in Snowflake, Arizona, and I still remember this one, and it made me ask some interesting questions about some things. So this is this gal, and she's white lady, middle age. We just started talking, like my boss hated her, but me and her got along really well. I'm just got a customer service rep there in the middle of nowhere. So we're just talking, and she talks about the fact that she actually makes drums, like natives made drums.
Right.
It's a gift, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, and so I have this really interesting, and I kind of feel like we're going to go back the other way, because the question is, although I cannot put myself fully in any one particular situation, there are pieces of my own experience. I'm not saying I don't understand the nature of the oppression. I don't. But certain gifts I have, if there are things I can definitely latch on and feel, I can tell at least that part of the story. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't tell it all, and I definitely should be looking at being as we live in a world where there's a lot more information out there that you can definitely look and see, and there's definitely people you're going to ask. But at the end of the day, you're still ultimately going to tell a story. I feel,
Yeah.
I feel that in terms of dealing with, okay, like our indigenous history is bloody. Like
Yeah.
even now,
No.
I lived in I lived in Calgary, Alberta. Okay, and I still remember this because this is so. I lived in both Phoenix and I lived in. Some of the most racist 2 moments in my life. One occurred in Phoenix.
Okay.
The other occurred in Calgary.
Okay.
And that one was interesting because I was a very young man living in Calgary, like in the early 20s, and my boss, Middle Eastern guys, just gives you just how messed up this is. Well, the Native population, if you ever lived in Calgary, you know how brutally they are treated. Like they are not looked at in any kind of positive light at all.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. That's just the way it is. Like you will go on the street, like people have these assumptions, like when they ask for mouthwash, when they ask for money, like there's all kinds of like these connotations. So one day he goes, I've had enough. If you see any, he goes to me, if you see any of these people come in here, you are to throw them out. This is in Calgary, Alberta, Canada in 2005. Right? So I want people to understand, like, there is a history. Canada is very disingenuous when it comes to its own racial issues.
Absolutely.
We're not like the United States in the sense that you go in the States, you know how people
is right there for you to see. Yeah,
it's right there for everybody
Nobody's
to see.
pretending anymore, if they ever were. I mean, some people do veil it still, but
it's not as veiled as here. Here,
yeah,
there are places you will go, and you find out when you get there. That's just how it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I think in one real sense, we have a more insidious path because the only way we're going to truly fix our issues, how honestly are we going to look at ourselves?
Yeah.
Like truly honestly. One of the hardest things, like we have this I think might be the hardest thing for a Canadian to accept. Our way of life, a big part of our way of life has come at the expense of a myriad of other cultures.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the truth of the matter is, all right, a lot of what we think are good things, if you look past the surface, are not so good. But the question is, how much are you willing to look into how the sausage is made? Because because there is because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And the indigenous population is probably the worst. We have done so many things to those people that honest to God, I don't think, like, we're so quiet about what we've done. And that's the part that's really scary. If we're so quiet about what we've done, I don't know if it will, how many years it will all come out. And that's a very, I think that's fair to say. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And this is Canada.
Yeah.
Right. This is Canada, and that's a face of Canada that a lot of Canadians do not want to see.
Well, Canadians are looked at as polite and quiet, nice people, but that's the other side of it, right? The seedy underbelly is like, oh yeah, we sweep things under the carpet. We're nice. We don't talk about that, and and that's caused to put us in a semi-unique position, especially if you're comparing us to the States and who's more racist and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't think you can say one is more racist than the other. It's in what way is this particular country racist, and in what ways is this, and how do they express it? It's just different. That's all.
Yeah, and one thing that has to actually be stated as well to some degree is, it has to be stated as well too, is racism isn't just North American; it's worldwide. There are,
of course,
yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, and the thing is, the nature of intelligence is to discern difference.
Mhm.
That's how we're wired. The nature of wisdom is to look past it. But wisdom takes empathy. And unfortunately for us as a culture, if the last year has taught me absolutely anything about us, we suck at that.
It's interesting because, individuals can certainly learn and are more empathetic, but when we become a group, when we become a society, it's different. It's a different animal that has to be trained
Well,
or,
no,
or to learn.
it's understanding the nature of our system. Like for example,
Yeah.
right? Like for example, like we we live in a world of expectations, and I think this is what needs to be understood. In a system, a society, there are expectations that come with being a civilization. If we're going to get along, we're going to play in those into those expectations. Now, whether those expectations are humane or not, sometimes is irrelevant because it's not about what you. We have fallen into a very interesting. Like I was thinking about this. That there's a quote I heard from. I've been Chappelle has become in some ways my spirit animal in the last little bit just because I'm just how nuts I am. But I think this is probably one of the truest things he's ever said. Right and wrong are not necessarily the compasses of there. It's all about better or worse. And you have to have a right or wrong in a system because if it's about better or worse, then that's what that boils down to essentially is a mouse getting cheese. And whoever has the cheese is right. And that is a very, very, very terrible way to live. You have to have a right and a wrong, and you have to be willing to stand up for what is right. What I've learned in the last year is, I don't know if that's something I feel Canada needs to work on. Right? I feel that that's something that, as a culture, we suck at it. I mean, even with what's going on right now, some of the things that are going on right now, it's like, I don't think any of this is right, and that's just me. That's just me being very, very, very honest about just how things stand. And we're letting a lot of things slide that I don't think we're not going to fully realize until a few years down the road. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be, and unfortunately, we're going to pay a price for that. And that is a fallacy of our system. Again, it's the expectations that we've built into our system. When you have expectations, you take away nuance. When you take away nuance, you take away an understanding. You take away understanding, right? Me and you will disagree about something, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, because we're different people. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that at the end of the day we can't get along, or because we probably agree on more things than we disagree on, right? And the things we disagree on, we could probably, if we just you and I, right?
We're gonna work around it. It's like, yeah.
And maybe your dog, I don't know, your dog probably be the boss. That's just the way it goes. But the thing is, right? We find a way to compromise. But if we start talking like that, right, then there'd be a lot less conflict. Now, if you take away nuance, you just create a very binary system. Well, you're like this or you're like this, and neither side's actually right. But the thing is, it doesn't matter now because there's no nuance. There's no thought. It's just now it is this expectation or this expectation.
And are you with us or are you with them too? It's like
that's it.
That's what it sets up. So yeah.
So I mean, again, in the last year, this is what I've seen, and in the last year, I have learned that you can all kick rocks. I'm just going on. This is why I'm going on the road because I don't like either expectation. They suck. But I mean, that's my answer. I don't have and I don't know how to fix it because I don't know if we're ready to have that conversation to fix it, right? That's it. Like we have to look at our expectations that we expect from other people, and we got to be honest about it. Are they realistic? And by realistic, do I mean is, again, we're going to go back to full circle to love. Love, the very nature of love is I don't have to agree with what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I love you anyway.
Yeah. I accept you for who you are.
And your
choices. Yeah.
And that's ultimately, I think, the only correct way to live,
Mm.
right? I mean, I have to accept the fact that, my way isn't the only way in the universe. I mean, my head will have to shrink a little bit as a result of this. but that's, I think, honestly, like, we have to come back to the situation where we got to let people live and let live. And that there isn't really an us or a them, that you have your way, I have my way. And I'm not saying one is more right or one is less wrong, but we're not going to, again, we're going to give people the freedom to figure those things out for themselves.
That's the exact reverse philosophy to colonialism and what's been pounded into us, those who live under that or have come from that kind of a culture. I mean, the whole colonialism is that we know best for everyone else. Let's go conquer the world and take it over, pretty much. So, and then capitalism, but blah 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 blah. I don't want to go too far here. It's just, it's gonna take some deprogramming to an extent for some people, and then some people are.
If we're being very honest, for everybody.
Yeah.
If we're being very, very honest here.
Everybody has it. I mean, it's.
Yeah. If we're being look, I don't have all the correct answers. The only thing I don't. I have things that I believe are 100%, and maybe not be 100%. As I've gotten older, I realize I know less about the world than I ever knew was possible, and the more I go out into the world, the less I know, and maybe that's actually for the best, because
it's better to know that.
I know that might actually be for the best.
Yeah.
But that requires going out there and exploring and seeing for yourself, and I kind of feel the last little bit, we've all kind of been stuck in this little window. We've had this window out into the world, and and this window will tell us that this is right or this is right. It's
only going to show us certain things, right? Yeah, we're
right.
What window we're looking at.
Again, so mouse with the cheese. Right, right. And that's what this all becomes. That's what it comes to, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. So, do I think any of us has it right now? Hell no. How could we? Right? I mean, right. How could we? We've been trapped in this window of the world for about a year and a bit.
I wouldn't want to put that expectation on anybody anyway. The expectation should be that we're willing to learn anyhow. None of us has the answers. Let's figure it out together.
Yeah, but again, are we ready to have that conversation yet?
Yeah.
And that's it, right? Yeah. And that's just it. Okay, I mean that's but again, the fact that we're actually having this open come to Jesus meeting of, hey, we both don't know fuck all, right? Right? That's a great starting point to have that discussion, right? Mm-hmm. That's a great one, and and again, there are things we'll absolutely agree with. There are things we absolutely won't. And that's great too, right? That's great too. We don't live in a world where, and that's the best thing. Your life experiences and my life experiences
totally
different.
Yeah.
As such, we see the world differently, and we can learn from each other. That's nuance. I like that.
It'd be super boring if everybody agreed on everything. What kind of
that's just it. And every time I see a universal truth, I tend to run the other way as far and as fast as possible, because I almost know that's bullshit. It doesn't exist, right? And so, but that's the world we live in, right? But again, learning that also. But here's the thing. If I'm at your throat and you're at my throat, right? We're still in the exact same position we've always been at.
Yeah, stuck.
Right?
Yeah.
Nothing changes.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So when I look at what's going on right now, nope. That's pretty right. And so I'm going to go on the road. I'm going to meet people. I'm going to hear their stories, and I'm going to talk. And that's kind of like my life. That's my life expectation. I'm going to release some books. I'm going to have a good time. And I didn't go to your theory. So I'm going to ask 2 questions, and then we go to the wrap up. So I have a theory about your animal monolithic thing, because I thought about it. But since you went into this big thing, I figured, okay, let's talk about that too. So we talked about that. let's talk about. So I think I know why you like animals. There's two reasons.
Okay.
The first, you mentioned this very, very, very subtly,
Mhm.
but you mentioned it, imagination. So some of the best Dr. Seuss uses animals.
Mhm.
Stan Sakai, Usagi Yojimbo uses animals
Mhm.
to tell his stories. Cool thing about those particular two is you can imagine situations better because there's a less bias in the
Yeah.
situation, right? So
Mhm.
you can be right, and that's the thing, like you're trying in the context of imagination, you're trying to actually really go to a much cleaner truth, a simpler way of looking
Yeah.
at things,
Yes.
right? And that's not a bad thing.
No, simplicity can be good, because you're just getting to the core of something. Yeah.
it cuts through the bullshit, right?
Yes.
Right? It cuts through the bullshit, which is
Yeah.
very, very important. Number
Yes.
one. Number two,
Okay.
right? Number two, the tone is nicer. You can deal with you can deal
Yes.
with darker things, but you can do it in a way that very much like a child, like the great childhood authors. I mentioned Seuss. Seuss is one of the all-time best at it.
Mhm.
He doesn't shy from the dark stuff at all. He goes right into the heart of it. But the way he does it in light and color, it shows that even in the darkest moments, there is still light in the world, and that's a wonderful thing. Because even though it will seem, and it can, like it seems like the world can dim into the night, right?
Yeah.
The sun comes up.
Yeah, it does. And it keeps doing that.
Yeah.
Always remember it will come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And generally, children, it's just gentler for them. These dark things, and presenting it to them allows them to digest it in a less painful way, perhaps, and maybe reflect on it when they're older. But even people who are not children and are older are reading it and can see it right away, having it presented to them in a simple and perhaps soft is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. That gentler way means you feel a little less like somebody's slamming you over the head with a 2x4 too. So yeah.
Well, no one likes getting hit with a 2x4. It hurts.
Usually not.
Yeah, it
There's some
hurts.
people who have kinks, but
I'm just saying, it hurts. I mean,
it's shocking. I was a little jarring.
it doesn't feel nice to get hit with a 2x4.
No,
Right?
not usually. Anyway.
Right? I've never been hit with a 2x4, but I can imagine that hurts.
Exactly. That hasn't been in my experience either. But I'm going to step into someone else's shoes who's been hit.
And also, not everybody's looking. My congregation, my flock, I have something wonderful to give to you, right? I'm going to talk about, and we just go off like no one. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all have stuff we care about.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing we want to be is preached at, because honestly,
precisely.
Right, mm-hmm. Right. Unless it comes to the point where I'm like I see you going literally off the cliff, I'm not going to preach at you. So I've had to learn that the hard way.
Right away. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, you listen. If I knew that you were doing something harmful to yourself, I probably would go out of my way to have a conversation. Like, hey, listen, I just did that the other. I just did that the other day. I saw a friend of mine, and we've just been emailing each other a little bit, and she told me what was going on with her, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" Like, I actually asked her because she sounded traumatized. Which again, in this time in particular, that's not an entirely unfair. We've all been traumatized in the last little bit, mm-hmm. And so I was like, "Are you okay?" Because her symptoms.
You need somebody to ask that and actually draw it out from you. Some people are like or sometimes you just aren't. It isn't coming out fully. You're not coming out and saying, help me, or I'm experiencing this thing. Yeah.
Well, it just I saw some of the things that she was going through, so how she talked about her day and how she was going through the day and how she was coping, and just it sounds like you're trying to cope from some serious pain, right? Isn't that right? And I go, "Are you okay?" And then we get talking a little deeper, and this is the closest. This is thing I preach. It's just like I don't want to be a burden on people right now, and I'm like, you're not a burden. You're an amazing, strong, beautiful woman, and it's okay to ask for help, right? Mm-hmm. I preach that because honestly, in a time like this, and especially in a time like this, the one thing you don't need to be is alone. You don't really have to be.
Absolutely.
Right? The strongest of us, we are just sometimes we can't do alone.
Yeah,
We
no.
don't see everything. We just don't. We're not built that way. Two sets of eyes will see different things, and both might be true.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing because then you make better connections and work together. That's how we're wired.
Mhm.
So, I mean, don't fight that stuff. You just
Yeah.
go with it, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's when I get preachy. But
Yes.
yeah.
But otherwise, when you know somebody's just picking up your book or whatever, you don't want to preach at them.
My children, thank you for God, my book.
Exactly. Anyway, I think your theories are right on. Thank you. So that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask a personal question.
Okay.
It sounds like you're still a kid at heart.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that personal a question to me, maybe to others.
No. I am gonna ask a very personal question.
Oh, okay.
If you do not want to answer this,
Okay.
I understand, but it's just something it's just something I've noticed about you. You have a childlike wonder and imagination, and you express it so beautifully. I'm actually shocked you don't have kids.
Yeah, I know. Even I am a little surprised that I don't want children. It's not that I don't like them either. It's just that, is your question like, why don't I want children?
Yeah. Again, if you don't want to answer, I totally get it. But it seems it's interesting because you write fun kid stuff. Like you're doing animal marketing, like, and also you're a giant kid at heart. I mean, look how you introduced your dog. I mean, come on, right?
Okay, but no, I have no problem answering the question. It's just like part of me doesn't fully know, but I think a lot of it has to do with, or part of it has to do with that. I am a kid at heart. I am the kid. I don't have the kids. I am the kid. And that's as far as like answering why do I write children's books when I don't really want to have children. And again, it's not because I don't like them, because certainly I do, you know, and but I just never planned for them in my life. This is not what they were not a goal I set. And then I finally realized it at one point. I was like, oh, wait, I'm not. Yeah, I don't want, it's not something I thought about for a long time. And then suddenly I did, especially pretty much before I was getting married to Kevin, because I was like, you know, this is something I have to share with this person. And you know, I'm very fortunate that he has, you know, a similar feeling that way, or similar enough anyway. I just, they just never crossed my mind in a serious way. I used to think that, you know, like everybody else, you're a kid, you think you're going to grow up and have kids and have a family, and, you know, the expectations of society, the imprint there, right? But when I actually started to figure out what I wanted to do, the kids just weren't in there. Yeah.
You know what? And that's fair. That's totally fair. I figured that's an interesting thought because it's like, you're writing kid stuff. Like, and you sound like it honestly sounds like you'd be. I'm not trying to push you in any direction.
Oh, no.
I just want to say, you'd be a fun mom. I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you'd be a fun mom. If you ever decide to go down that path, I think you'd be.
It would have to be adoption at this point, but because I am 46 and I don't have a uterus anymore, so there's
fair enough.
Yeah, but you know that not that that's, you know, obviously adoption is always an option. You know, yeah.
Family's what you make of it, honestly. And honestly, really, at the end of the day, and like this is, I feel this is a great way to kind of wrap this bad boy up because, you know, you're happy with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You write kick-ass books.
Thank you.
You write kick-ass books, and like I said, and you're living. I mean, really, there's nothing wrong with however you choose to live your life. And honestly, it sounds like, are you happy?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Something more I can say. Hey, have a great time doing it. That's all I can tell you, right?
Yep.
So
Thank you.
We have an interview here. What do you think?
So, yeah. I think we did a good interview. Yes.
You think? Yeah.
I think it was a nice arc.
Yeah. We talked about stuff, and just the way it goes. So, what's on your agenda this year? What are you just writing stuff? Are you releasing stuff? What's going on?
I'm re-releasing 2 picture books, Sloth the Lazy Dragon, which was published under Guardian Angel Publishing, way back in 2016, not way back as however. And I'm also relaunching Mary Mur the Christmas Bat, also published by Guardian Angel Publishing, because unfortunately they went under and COVID is responsible, and that sucks. But Mirror World Publishing picked up Sloth the Lazy Dragon, and Pandemonium Publishing picked up Mary Mur the Christmas Bat. And we're relaunching it together in one party on October 23rd of this year. So yay, those books will be back out, slightly tweaked, just a little bit, because, the opportunity's there. And so that's what's happening this year. Next year, there's a picture book called Chloe the Unfeathered Parrot coming out with not Mirror World, but Mirror Publishing, which gets confusing, a different publisher in the States called Mirror Publishing. And Mirror World.
So basically, when you look at stuff, you're like, what the hell am I doing? Wait. Mirror? Which mirror? Oh, crap. Which one am I?
Which mirror is this? Who's sending me this invoice and what? Who? Or if I'm trying to tell people where they can, and they just assume it's Mirror World because a lot of my books are with them. Anyway, blah, blah. And then what I was talking about, Peter Littlewing, book 1 of that series, that middle grade novel series, comes out in 2023 with Pandemonium Publishing. So that's what's on the slate for my writing for the next little while that I can think of. I also actually am releasing an album, sort of, with a friend of mine named Darcy Windover, that will be paired with my current book, Dog Band, which was released in March of this year. It's a book about a bunch of dogs that are trying to figure out what kind of music their band should play. So all their friends tell them about different genres of music. So it teaches children all sorts of different genres of music. Certainly not all of them, because there's way too many. But Darcy and I are going to record a little album of short songs, about between 9 and 12 songs that people can download with the book to go, so that kids can hear examples of all these different kinds of music that are mentioned in the book. So it's exciting.
It's pretty sweet, actually. It is actually really sweet. So that's out now. And so how can people find you?
ReganWHMacaulay.com. That's spelled REGAN. Anyway, Macaulay, Regan Macaulay, WHMacaulay.com. You can find me through
Regan WH?
Yep, WHMacaulay.com. And
that one?
Yep, there it is. Oh, no, it's MAC. It's actually MAC, not MCC.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. So instead of
again,
Regan
WHMAC
AU, just one C.
AU
LAY.
Okay. That one.
That one is correct. Yes. Okay. My name is not easy.
I'm spelling stuff.
Thank you for including that, though. Yeah, people can find my books, past and present and future, on there.
That's awesome. Well, everybody, this is it for just joshing until the weekend. My day job moved my training to my afternoon shift, so I've had to move my 2 interviews for the remainder of the week. I'm kind of annoyed at that, but that's life in general. Trista Robinson will be rescheduled this weekend. The other one will be rescheduled somewhere down the line, probably in July somewhere. So that will be it for the week of this week for Just Joshing. I got a couple things to say here. First off, thank you, Regan, for coming on my show and being silly with me for an hour. We talked about life, the universe, and everything. You seem to have a good time anyway with it. And second, to everybody watching and listening, I am trying to kick Meredith Lowry and Mia Lanning's butt right now. I joined my YouTube channel, Joshua Penteleresco. Hit the like and subscribe. I get to 250 subscribers before they do. They will be drawing for me. It will be a penguin zombie apocalypse for me. That's what they're going to draw. Yeah. Penguin zombie apocalypse. Why not?
I like it.
I mean, Penguins even just like walk like zombies. They sit there, think about that, yeah, they kind of do. So it's like they're already halfway there. So I just figured just go the rest of the way. So there's that. My Twitch channel, twitch.tv/podcast. Check out my book. Stay tuned June 15th. I'm going to have an announcement regarding Alice Zero sequel, Alice 1. We'll talk about that all on the 15th. But until then, guys, stay inspired, keep shining in the dark, and keep making beautiful things. I will see you guys this weekend.